Okay, I'm back. I had to cut that short. I had to cut the first one short, and I just noticed something. Hold on. There, we got volume. Okay, I had to cut the first one short, and I was kind of debating if I wanted to splice this one to the first and make it continual. But I'm just gonna let it sit on its own merits. And I hope you guys appreciate that. Well, I hope you guys understand that. One thing that I plan on doing for 2017, y'all, I plan on updating how my videos are done. That's right. I know some have said, "Well, Joe, I can't hear you." Well, truth be told, is I'm I'm using my laptop as a means to put these videos out, and with that, I plan on getting a getting a mic for it, and I'm just dealing. I'm trying to keep it low pro right now because actually, the game plan for 2018 summer is I'll be broadcasting from my home, and it'll be out of most likely it'll be in my den, and I'll have a nice setup, and because you guys deserve it. And I can't stress how grateful, how humble I am for every person that has taken the time to like, dislike, as well as comment. I love the interaction, y'all, because the only thing that you're going to get from me is a prayer and unbiased advice because there's nothing to gain but growth, but knowledge. And isn't that the reason why we're on this planet to begin with? To be what we were manifested to be. Because a lot of people overlook the fact that you are a living manifestation of your parents' strengths and weaknesses. Who am I talking to? That's right. That's why you may have heard your family tell you, I want you to have the life I did not. That is the reason why I make the sacrifices that I do. But see, it seems like in 2017, because that's the year that we are in, the season of the ant and the grasshopper, the things that should matter most, the things that should be held sacred, have been compromised. They're they're being offered at the lowest bidder. They're not valued, and unfortunately, they're being condoned. And I say this not because I'm trying to be condescending. I'm speaking truth as I see it. Just like you have a viewpoint of how you see your world. That's the only viewpoint that you'll have. The commonality is the people that share the view. That's why you hear people say, I can give you a sentence to read. Well, how you interpret that sentence doesn't mean it's wrong. So let's talk about what's most important. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your life. Let's talk about your dreams. Let's talk about the motivation for it all. Because, see, the dialogue that's not being talked about, that should be talked about, is the fact that there are those who sit in the shadows, waiting, watching, hoping that You will not who you are destined to be. I know that some people think, Gerald, that sounds like something out of a horror movie. But think of it this way. How do you think horror movies are created? Somebody's got to do the research. And you can't do no research unless it has been thought of. Where did that thought come from? What was the motivation to embrace it? That is why it's very important, y'all, family. I can't stress it. To be the best you. And do not be afraid to claim your life. Because if you're measuring it for how he's doing it, you're going to always fall short. But if you look a little deeper and have the privilege, maybe they are also following suit. And that is the example of what having a commonality is all about. What is the source? What is the viewpoint that is being lifted up and valued? What is it? Where did it come from? And did it represent you to the fullest? But see, look at our society, y'all. And this ain't about doom and gloom. This is about accountability. Why is it that people don't want to be comfortable in their own shoes? The reason for it? Because they're not comfortable in their own skin. Somehow, somewhere, someone convinced them that you're not good enough. You'll never measure up. Well, what is the matrix that's used for measurement? Is it authenticity? Is it value? What do you value? And can it stand the test of time? I'll do one better. Is it worth your smile? Does it define your heart? Does it give you the motivation to get up every day? If you're saying no, then I hate to tell you, you're not living your life. You're sustaining it. And guess what? Don't we have enough broken people in the world? It just blows my mind, because for those who are privileged to have access to your life, how it seems that people forget the value of being in it. People who have earned the right to walk with you have the same traits and mindsets. Shouldn't these people also come from a place of authenticity and transparency to always see the best in you, even if it's not, even if it's you? Why is that? Because it's easy to stay the status quo. It ain't my fault. I'm going to keep my mouth closed. You realize how many people are sitting in cemeteries right now because people kept their mouths closed? Because that one person that had the opportunity in that moment of time should have said, hey, look, let's rethink this. Let's reassess this. No, they don't do that, because there's always an agenda underneath. And usually it's shallowness. And shallowness is nothing but the cousin to denial. It is nothing but the sister to deflection. But it's in that family we know is pain. And I get it, because the people that have the ability to influence the masses know this oh too well. If it doesn't make or spawn the best you, why perpetuate it? Why is that? It's because the fact that they don't want you to use that beautiful mind, because they already know. If I can control this, I can motivate this. If I can get you to see a certain way and embrace a certain position, I can get you to spend your money too. They know this. That's why advertisers do what they do. This is no secret. But you will not see ownership on that either. They will quickly say, buyer beware. Well, the price for truth is a price that can never be paid for. It's too high. Why? Because there's only one you. But let's turn the corner on this and let's look at this from a different angle. Why is it the people that say that they don't care do the opposite? If your life didn't have value, why they spend so much energy to cause discourse? Why they spend so much energy to keep drama going? If you didn't matter, why are you so focused on what they're doing? Because last time I checked, there's only one reflection in the mirror that looks back, and that's yours. So right there, that should tell you right there, your life matters, which it does, because you exist. You're not here on this planet for a free ride. Did you think not? You actually think that you're just here to, like our elders would say, you're just here to eat, sleep, and take up air? I think not. But those people that don't know their direction, they can't see their purpose. And they can't see their purpose because secretly they're in torment. So anything that's outside that viewpoint, they don't like. You see it all the time. Get mad. Just get spiteful. Just being vindictive. Like, for example, I hear this all the time. You've heard it too. Until we can, until we can unify as a community, can we make change? You'll never have unity until you know you. And to have a community, you must have unity. But if you don't know yourself, how can you support change? The fact of the matter is, you are change. The way that the moment that you decide to take the filters off, look at the raw truth, and have the courage to claim it, will it be different? So it doesn't matter who's speaking and who's using whatever tools to influence your judgment, because at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said earlier. The end goal is to change your perceptions. You can't change nothing without an audience. But it doesn't matter if you have 1 million. The greatest audience ever is the one looking in the mirror. Because see, they know the real you. You can't bluff them. You can't bluff you. That's why some are in a stalemate with their physical self compared to their emotional. And I'm not making light of this, because some of you do struggle with this day to day. You think that, well, if I change up the way I look or sound a certain way, or I move and start fresh, that's all that's required. But you'll come to understand that in the beginning, your newness always sounds and feels great because you have not been able to assess your environment. But the truth of the matter is the environment has not changed. It has not changed because you're in it. And we are what we attract. But that goes back to what I said earlier. If your life didn't matter, why do they care what you do? Why do they care so much? Why do they have an opinion? Why do they care what you think? Because deep down inside they do. They don't want to admit it, because they can't admit it to themselves. And that's one of the tools that we know as opportunists operate. They operate under the guise of being covert. They operate under the ruse of being passive aggressive. They operate under the tools of being condescending. But the meat of the matter is this: why aren't you happy? Why are you not? And why are you so loyal to your pain? If you know what you need to change, why won't you have the courage to look at it? You can't change nothing that you won't acknowledge does not exist. That's why denial is so rampant in our environment. I ain't gonna tell you. Every year, the moral value takes another step down. Did you know that now that a lot of media is starting to embrace streaming, uh, you're starting to see a lot of things that you would not have been privileged to. So I say that because what about our babies? Hmm? What about our babies? It used to be a time where we had to worry about what we know is the pedophile. Pedophile would would have the mystique of the guy with the candy or the the mystery van, or they would be out there, and I'm not making light of this. I'm just using this as an example. Something tangible of how they operated, but you never hear people talking about mental illness in our community. You never hear anybody want a campaign to uh, combat narcissism, or well, narcissism is an umbrella term anyway, because it's progressive. That's the coup de grace of what I call denial. Because when you turn around and add up, you look at the trail of tears, you always hear these excuses. Oh, Charlie was hyperactive. Then they try to soften the blow and say, well, nah, he he uh he has ADHD. Okay, all right, okay. And then it progresses to um well, he don't have ADHD, he's bipolar. Okay, okay. Fast forward a little bit longer, a little more, and then it goes from, oh, he's schizophrenic. Okay, they matured, they're in their young adulthood now, progress again. Now they're adult, and it's no, he ain't schizophrenic. He's sociopathic. Uh, okay, we've got problems that are extreme now. Voila, demon incarnate. The narcissist is born. Now let's go in reverse. See, a narcissist loves status. Everybody likes status. Everybody loves that. But they gain they gain their status by covert means. So therefore, they're all for the alter ego that they live under. That's the shell. They use the things that you find fascinating. And that's one of their tools, to stick their hooks in you and bring you in. They know how to, they always got a story. They always got a story, but they don't have any ownership. Mm-mm. They know how to use laughter as well as tears You could actually say from a emotional standpoint, these people are professional actors without salary because they can morph into the person that will render what they need. But the question I ask is this: the person that they've become, that's still a little boy, it's still a little girl inside, shackled to their torment and pain, even convince themselves that their loyalty is with that emotional state because it's been sustained. It has lasted through every relationship and as well as every season that they have witnessed, only to be the price of their mortality. Oh, these people age very badly. So does it surprise you why these people are very bitter? They even use psychology as a way of how they approach you and what they do not, because they know if I give you a certain, but that's all a front, that's all a facade, because the truth of the matter is they don't want you to see that little boy or little girl that lives in them, and they're fragile. They don't want you there. That's why you see people will have outbursts and do things that are unbecoming of them. But these are nothing but scare tactics, y'all. These are the same people saying, I turn up, Gerald. But silently inside, they're the ones that have been turned out long ago. Do you not see the cycle? See, that abuser at one time was the abused, but nobody recognized or wanted to acknowledge what had transpired to change it. Now, let's look at the backdrop of that. We live in an environment that celebrates that. That's why news is never good. Oh, there's plenty of carnage and despair all over the world. Oh, they've got endless news reports on that. Mhm. Why? Because you've got to get your daily dosage of pain. Because ultimately, the goal is for you to condone it. And the fast track that we're on as a society, until we decide to look away, not give a foundation to it, see the value of your time, they're going to keep putting it out. No different than going to a circus and watching a new trick being placed before you. Why? The end goal is they want to rob you of your life. They don't want you to see the value in it. That's why they constantly attack you. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why do you care? Does it enhance your life or does it complicate it? Why do you care? You ever thought about that? Because we can easily say, as we always know, birds of a feather flock together. But the truth of the matter is, they flock together because they have no direction. So they continue to fly until their wings get tired, or only to become the prey. That's not your story, y'all. While we're worrying about division in our community, we're not focusing on the individual. Because without the individual, you have no community. So, what does your heart say? Because until you give a voice to that heart, you'll never be able to give a voice to your community. Who am I talking to? I hear it all the time. I hear people blaming, saying it's this, it's that. But at the end of the day, you still get up, right? At the end of the day, you still have a choice to be a part of it. And as you've already heard, if you don't have a solution, you're condoning the problem. So maybe that's the reason why some people choose to turn a blind eye, continue to be a slave to the rhythm instead of listening to their heart. Maybe that's the reason why people have given up on themselves instead of claiming what was rightfully there was your life. Nobody can put that smile on your face because that smile comes from within you. So the question I should ask now in 2017, do you know who you are? Because until you can claim the answer, which you already know comes from within, can you apply it? No, your life is not supposed to be easy. That's why the things that value most come with a sacrifice. But you can't have a sacrifice without a choice, Gerald. That's right. That's right. Because we're talking about those two spiritual gifts God gave you. The number one gift was to unconditionally love yourself. So to unconditionally love yourself, why are you giving so much focus on what they're doing instead of focusing on you? Maybe if you decide to actually focus on yourself, you would actually be able to tap into that strength that was there the whole time. Because until you do, your focus, your physicality, your resources are actually validating their existence. So maybe that's why it feels bittersweet now. Because a lot of people will not tell you this, but there's a lot of people that are walking around terrified because they don't understand, and they don't understand where they're going. Let me tell you something. The moment that you decide to place God first in front of everything you do, because you are his child, will things be made clear. And I'm just going to get off of this because I'm telling you stuff you already know. The question is, why won't you give yourself permission to be it? I remember there used to be a catchphrase. It used to be, I want to be just like Mike. Why you want to be like Mike? Why don't you be like you? Because the moment that you decide to be you, you may come to see maybe you are better than Mike. Meanwhile, there's another tear falling in the darkness, in the shadows. Right now, there's somebody being a slave behind the steering wheel. Don't know where they're going. They're just driving because it seems like it gives them peace of mind. Who am I talking to? So I got to ask this. You know that confusion that you're dealing with right now? Who am I talking to? You know, you angry because of them or her or him? You know that what you're feeling? You can't make sense of it all? Why are you claiming something when they ain't claiming you? Who am I talking to? But more importantly, if you didn't matter, why would they waste their time, energy, maybe their finances on something that didn't exist? Because they broken don't mean you supposed to follow suit, but we do it. That's why it blows my mind when I see, on one hand, I see a distraught parent and unfortunately, an unfortunate situation has fallen on their child or their children or their family. And one position matches. Truth of the matter of this is because they have built a wall of denial and they don't want to accept the fact that they failed. That's the truth of the matter. You failed. Can you turn it around? You can. But if you don't see value in it, how can it change? I remember there was a time where you would hear older women chastise younger women how they dress. And they would also say under their breath, look at her little fast tail. Remember when y'all used to do that? But it's kind of hypocritical now because you're setting the tone on that. So you keep the sorority of womanhood going strong. And then you have some that flat out don't want to own that and say it's the man's fault why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's your life. I can't make you eat. I can't make you think. And one thing I can't do is make you love yourself. But we have both on both genders, male and female, have taken a position of, well, you know what? Bad news is good news, so bad behavior is still recognition. Really? We got other things to worry about. We've got communities that have brown water. We've got polluted air. And we've got people dying every day before their time. There are people getting rich off of your denial too, because they're peddling dreams. They're telling you you ain't good enough. You want to fit in and be like the status quo. Queen, you know I love you, but you got to do your work. When will you see that you, okay, put it this way. You know, when you go to the store and you go buy your eggs, you go, you pull the eggs out of the out of the case. What's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is look at the outer package, make sure there's no damage on it, right? Then you open it up and you move around each egg to make sure there's no cracks, as well as they're fresh. Why are you allowing society to treat you in the same manner? Because when you look on media, there are hundreds of thousands of women from the age, unfortunately, I believe this, from the age of 16 to 65, putting their images out there online. And depending on where you look, is what you'll see. And all share this. A lot of them have a deep hatred for men. Now, I'm not trying to make light of that, but when I hear a woman that behavior reminds me of a man, that screams your daddy failed you because your daddy ain't there. And you didn't spend a portion of your life trying to prove this point that you didn't need a man because you didn't have an example of what manhood was. And I know there are going to be some women that say, well, Joel, I had my father. He gave me everything I want, but did he give you everything you need? Did your daddy have a relationship with God? Because if he didn't have a relationship with God, guess what? He didn't have a relationship with you. Who am I talking to? This also applies to you too, moms out there. Here's something that blows my mind. Why is it that it's become customary that the child doesn't know the parent's history? Why is that? Why is it that you don't know your parents' history? You ever thought about that? Maybe that's the reason why your behaviors is the well. That's exactly why your behaviors is the way it is, because you get it from your parents. They were your first teachers. Mm-hmm. From the first argument to the first slap, for the first disrespectful. Oh yeah, I ain't gotta tell you. Just look on social media. You see it. When you see this little boy talking like he's 10 years old, I have to ask, who was the influencer? Hmm? But we've gotten so customary that it's the grandparents' responsibility to raise the grandkids. On some situations, it's great grandkids. Don't you realize when you see that, it's because those grandparents failed that child and they're trying to make up for it. And you've heard people say, well, if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have did all that. You did what you did because you chose to do it. But the truth of the matter is, you still don't know you. And that's why our families are being ransacked by the Jezebel spirit. It's the truth. Society's teaching you, queens, to be the prostitute by way of your sexuality. You say, well, that ain't me, Gerald. Okay. You ain't got to lie to me. But you can't lie to that person in the mirror. And I understand that. That's why some of you have addictions today. No, I just like my drink. Ain't nothing wrong with drinking. But if you're drinking to forget, it's because you're trying to forget some pain. But the sad thing is, your bitterness and your temperament always comes to the surface when you sober out. Why is that? Because you don't know your voice, or you're afraid of a truth. I understand. The question is, do you understand? Stop looking outside your window and look inside your heart. Start there. You start focusing on that, you'll be well on your way to making your life the life that you dreamed of. But it's going to require courage. Do you have it? Some of you know. Some of you already know I'm telling you this. And some of y'all need to learn to say this word, no. Some people, that's like putting alcohol on a wound. But until you learn to say no, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that requires stitches. You don't get a badge for being tough. But here's the beautiful thing about people that go that route. Those people that try to use aggression, they're the most controllable. Because you know that anguish you may be feeling right now. Because I know there'll be somebody that'll be thumbing down. That's okay. But what I want you to do is think. That means I've already done my job because I'm speaking to your heart. I see your value. I see your worth. And I'm going to do something that your friends will never do. And let's look out for your best interest. They're your friends, right? Where are they now? Or is it they only come around when they're on top of you? or in your pockets. But they convince you it's your behavior. You have to learn from somebody. Who am I talking to? So you can continue the cycle you've been on, and don't be surprised that your mortality will show you exactly where you stand. Because there's a bunch of y'all that are in your early 20s looking like you're 40. You think that you're bulletproof. Oh, you don't know. Because you can work a keyboard don't mean you got common sense. You got to understand, Queen, King. You, my millennials, think about this. The behaviors that you're doing is going to be setting up who you're going to become 30 years from now. And remember, doctors need patience. So they need to turn around and set up the platform, because, cures don't make money, but pride does. God's praying for you. You know what? I tell you what, I wasn't going to share this, but I've talked enough on this one. Um, I'm gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna sum it up. Y'all, there was a way I could edit all this, edit them, splice them together, but for some reason I'm having a hard time finding the option. So I'm gonna end it right here. If you're feeling what I'm saying, I would like your support. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down it. But at the least, if you ain't feeling what I'm saying, leave me a comment. Let's learn together. Because as long as you have that beautiful mind, you've got an opportunity to expand it. It's endless, y'all. You only use 6% of your brain. So tell me again why you don't think you're worth the investment. Tell me again why you don't believe your life matters. And let me tell you something while I'm thinking about it. Stop getting caught up on catchphrases and start getting caught up on you. Because what y'all don't realize, what happened last year? People were focused on catchphrases, and what did it get you? Nothing. Talking about wanting to better the community, better yourself. You got a voice then. What about that voice that's inside you? Why won't you listen to it? It's okay that you might be afraid. It's okay. But you can't receive change if you constantly turn a blind eye to it. And guess what? You know those people in the cheap seats? They banking that you don't. They think they got you figured out. Why you think you feeling anguish? You like, well, I just wanted to talk to you. Yeah, babe. Or they've gotten to a point where they don't even care. They're like, you know what? Look, this is what it is. We'll talk about, come on over here. Or you turn around and your nose is so far up her butt, you don't see she's screwing you. You don't even see it. That's how they function, y'all. How can you obviously expect things to change if you don't put effort in? Listen, let me clarify this for somebody. If you think that you know what you felt, during the holidays was just a fluke. There's a whole lot more of that coming. That's for somebody. And if you turn it around thinking because the person that you see in the mirror is all that you're about, you do know God is the greatest comedian ever, right? You understand that, right? See, as long as you turn away from your heart, you'll never be able to connect to your spirit. And until you acknowledge your spirit, can you acknowledge his presence? Because that's what is required, or that's what defines your self-worth. Would you be the same person if you lost everything? Think about it that way. Think about those people that went to work to come home to everything gone. Can you imagine that? You got people making six figures that are homeless. Looks good on paper, but it hurts like hell in heart. That's why you also hear this. You hear people, some of the most happiest people you ever come in contact with, it's because they value their family. It matters not if you don't have a family, because guess what? You can't take that crap with you when you die. And what's really sad is those people in the chief seats, you know, that guy that comes over all the time, he blows your brains out, feeds you a bunch of bull. He gonna keep doing that until you see the value of your life. And here's the sad thing is because you got some people think this way. That's all right, Gerald. I got a starting five. Do you realize how jacked up that is? Because they're wearing your body down. You're taking in their genes. How about their bacteria? You're becoming a hub for that. And guess what? If you would have dropped dead today, their life ain't gonna stop. Don't matter how many tricks you know. And that's the tragedy. That's the tragedy, y'all. That's for somebody. Because millennials, y'all don't understand, but I figured it out. You know what your generation is? You know what your generation is? Your generation is the modern version of our your grandparents. So those that were reared in the 50s and the 60s, because back in the 50s and 60s, it was all about drug use. It was all about getting it in. There was a whole lot of sex going on. There was a whole lot of people being born, and there was no accountability for it. Well, those people grew up to be your grandparents. But that cycle has come full circle to now. That's y'all. Because they also thought the same thing. Oh, shut up, fool. You don't know what you're talking about. You realize how priceless wisdom is? Because wisdom doesn't have to be given. Prove my point. That's why you hear people echoing this. You need a mentor. Why would you need a mentor? Because they're gonna give you wisdom. But it doesn't matter if you don't know you. See how things come full circle? And when you think about it, it's like this. Don't matter. If you didn't earn it, you ain't gonna keep it. But the pain will come while you're trying to hold on to it. Because if it ain't blessed, it ain't gonna last. So once again, do you know who you are? Because you can't find yourself looking between your legs. You're not gonna understand yourself through your mindset. Maybe that's the reason why when you look in the mirror, you feel a certain kind of way. Just know this, and I'll shut up. until you decide to love yourself, you are you are keeping yourself hostage from you. And unfortunately, your little so-called ride or dies, they want you to stay that way because they're benefiting off of your impulsive behavior. Real questions should be asked: Where are they when you go through your you know when you're upset? Where are they at? What do they tell you? Some of them are so bold and brave, they won't even take your call. They actually have the nerve. You finished with all that? You know why they tell you that? Because that's something they ain't mastered. But they won't tell you that. They want you stick around, and guess what they do? They take note. So the moment that you decide to do something for yourself, they hold you hostage with that same information. Is that what a friend does? I think not. You ain't gotta listen. Watch what 2017 shows you. Excuse me. Watch what God is going to show you. Because He is a jealous but loving God. The question is, how much you willing to lose and how much you willing to go through. Just make sure it's not your heart. Oh, don't worry about them. One by one by one by one, they're all going to show you what love is not. Just make sure it doesn't cost you your life. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps you. It helps me discern my. Do you realize, y'all, that you even got a group that are pedophiles, want to align themselves with that LGBT community? Did you realize that? Did you know that in Canada, bestiality is legal? Did you know that? God ain't there. As long as you keep worshiping man, you keep spoon feeding that pain, because that's going to be your constant. It's up to you. Be blessed.